It's time for March's edition of PlayStation Plus vs Xbox Live Games with Gold, where we take a look at both services' game offerings and decide on which one is better. As always, on the PlayStation side of things, we are looking at games that are available on the PlayStation 4, whereas with Games with Gold, we do look at titles on Xbox One as well as Xbox 360 because they're playable on the Xbox One through backwards compatibility. With that being said, let's get right into this with the PlayStation Plus offerings. PlayStation Plus's March is being reveled as one of the best months in the service's history, possibly the best month, and it's easy to see why. One of the marquee games they are offering to subscribers is Bloodborne. Bloodborne was arguably the first true system seller on the PlayStation 4 as far as exclusives go. Prior to this, we did have titles like Infamous Second Son that were good but didn't really hit that excellent tier, where with Bloodborne, it was truly an excellent game. It was the latest title from Software, and it was very similar to the Souls game. However, it had its own stylization and atmosphere, and that was great. The gameplay is very strong, and whether you've been a fan of the Souls game or you're just getting into it, Bloodborne is a fantastic action game with a great setting, and there's a good reason why it's got a 92 on Metacritic. And if Bloodborne wasn't enough, on top of that, you are also getting the excellent Ratchet Clank. Ratchet Clank was one of the most iconic franchises on the PlayStation 2. Insomniac did a terrific job with the franchise, but after the PlayStation 3's future franchise, the series went seemingly absent for a while until 2016, where Insomniac finally put out Ratchet Clank. And while it wasn't a brand new game, rather it was a rebuilding of the very first Ratchet title on the PlayStation 4, this is a complete remake. From the visuals, you can tell right away that this is a PlayStation 4 game, not a lazy HD remaster, nothing like that. Visually, it's up there with the best of them, and the great thing about Ratchet & Clank is it still retains all of the fun and wackiness you know about Ratchet & Clank, the great weapons, the great platforming, the humor, it's all here, and Ratchet & Clank is another excellent offering, and it's got an 85 on Metacritic. So just those two games alone already create an excellent PlayStation 4 lineup that's better than just about every month since the PS4 has been released, but you've also got a couple of other titles on top of that. Next up, we have Mighty No. 9, which isn't the best game in the world. It was help funded through Kickstarter, and a lot of gamers were seeing this as the second coming of Mega Man. Unfortunately, it didn't really hit those nostalgic heartstrings, and it was very much a disappointment. However, you can still have a little bit of fun with it, but its Metacritic score of 52 does the game justice.
And there's a million ways to play this game. You like fighting bosses? Oh, Boss Rush Mode, baby. You want to tackle all the challenges we got? On it. Here's a challenge mode for you. Next. Oh, what's that? Make it harder. You asked for it. One hit.
Outside of that, you've also got a couple of PlayStation Vita titles that are available on the PlayStation 4 through cross-buy. We'll cover those really quickly. You have Claire Extended Cut as well as Bombing Busters. Nothing to write home about, but nonetheless, two additional games on top of everything else. Honestly, with just Bloodborne and Ratchet & Clank, this is a phenomenal month. Those are two of the best PlayStation 4 exclusives that have ever been released, so if you've yet to play them, if you sold them a while back and you want to revisit them, PlayStation Plus is the way to go, and you're getting both of those titles as a part of your subscription. That is fantastic. So PlayStation Plus is having an excellent month. Can Xbox Live Games with Gold compete? Let's find out. First, we'll look at the Xbox One titles. We have Trials of the Blood Dragon, a spin-off entry to the Trials franchise. Trials of the Blood Dragon is probably one of the weaker ones in the franchise. It does have some great presentation that harkens back to Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, so that's definitely a plus. However, the lackluster content is a little bit disappointing, and its Metacritic score of 55 is about right. Still, this is a game you can have some fun with.
Roller coaster of righteousness. Grapple and spin all over the planet. Use guns to shoot cyborgs, communist aliens, and giant ancient Dragon Balls. Space is the place, and the action is in your face. Right.
The other Xbox One title that's definitely the better one is Superhot. Superhot is a very unique first-person shooter where time moves only when you move. It's got very unique gameplay, awesome stylized graphics, and it's very different comparatively speaking to everything else in the FPS genre, which is a little bit of a stale genre, but Superhot is anything but that. It's a very fast-paced game, and there's a lot of replay value to it, so while the main game is rather short, there's always reason to go back and play the game again, and it's just an absolute blast to go through. So it is great to see Superhot as an Xbox Games with Gold title. And it's got an 83 on Metacritic. Moving on from that, we've also got a couple of Xbox 360 games. First, we have Brave the Video Game. Brave the Video Game is probably a title that so many gamers missed out on, and I really can't blame you. It's a very simplistic action game, and honestly speaking, it's the type of game that probably hasn't aged all too well, but it's still a nice addition to your Xbox library, and it's an interesting enough game. It does have a 78 on Metacritic, however, this is one where I don't think that score has aged all too well, and if you're looking at it with modern eyes, it might not be receiving as high of a score, so keep that in mind. And finally, we do have an awesome indie game in Quantum Conundrum. Quantum Conundrum is an awesome puzzle game with great presentation, and puzzle games sometimes have a little bit of monotony behind them, but that is not the case with Quantum Conundrum at all. It has a little bit of depth to it, and what I like about the Xbox 360 game offerings this month is that while Brave the Video Game might not be the best title in the world, and while Quantum Conundrum is a personal favorite title of mine, probably not gonna resonate with every gamer out there. However, these are two super underrated games that a lot of gamers probably missed out on, so at the very least, they're unique and fresh titles, so I give Microsoft a lot of credit in offering these. Quantum Conundrum itself has a 76 on Metacritic.
Oh, that creature there is an interdimensional kinetic entity, or type. As a rule, don't look directly into his eyes. Trust me. One can never be too safe. As far as safety goes, this area...
So with this month, I think it's the easiest month to decide on which is better between PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Games with Gold. You've got to give the edge to PlayStation Plus in a big way. They're giving out two marquee PlayStation 4 exclusives. Bloodborne is one of the best games of this generation, and Ratchet Clank is no slouch either. And outside of that, you've got a couple of other smaller titles to dig into as well, but obviously the majority of attention is going to be on Bloodborne and Ratchet Clank, and rightfully so. Even with PlayStation Plus being far ahead, the Xbox Live Games with Gold titles aren't all too bad. Superhot is an awesome first-person shooter. Trials of the Blood Dragon you can definitely have some fun with, and those Xbox 360 titles are at the very least fresh titles that a lot of you guys haven't played. Even still, with this month easily being the best month in PlayStation 4's Plus lineup history, you've got to give them credit where it is due. So that is going to wrap up this video. Sound off with your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.